Hey everyone, so today I'm going to go over how to put together your parallax animation in After Effects. So I'm going to start with a new composition, and then I'm going to go to File, and then to Import File, and then I'm going to go select my Illustrator file that has my city block in the where there's 3 layers. There's foreground, midground, and background. I'm going to import them, and the important thing to check here is that it says import as, and you want to go to composition, retain layer size. So that's going to bring in my Illustrator file as a new composition, and compositions basically work like folders within After Effects. So you can see here that all my layers are here, and I'm going to copy them onto my main composition that's titled Comp 1. And then I'm going to scale all my layers by hitting S. You can also hit the little arrow that's beside each layer name and get up all your transform attributes like position and scale and whatever else you need, but I find it easier to just do shortcuts. So if you hit S, it'll bring up scale. So now that I'm done scaling and everything is where it's supposed to be, I've put the furthest left edge of my layers with the furthest left edge of the composition, and because we're going to move everything, like slide it across. So you want it to start off on an edge. So now we're going to use the position timeline. So I'm just going to hit P, and that will bring down position. And so then there's a little stopwatch, and if you click it, that makes a keyframe. So I'm going to put the keyframe at the beginning of my timeline, then go all the way to the end, and then I'm going to scroll all my buildings using the little numbers that are on the same line as position, because it's just more precise that way. And I'm going to scroll my buildings all the way to the end, so the furthest right edge matches up with the right edge of my compositions window. So my foreground layer with the buildings is going to go all the way across, so you'll see every part of it. But my midground is going to go slower because when you, if you're like in a car and you're looking, the stuff in the foreground is going by quicker than the stuff further back, and the stuff in the very far background sometimes seems like it's not even moving. This effect is called Parallax, and it's a really effective way to get a cool looking animation without a lot of technical difficulty. So I'm going to go through and do the same thing for the hills in the background. I'm not going to move the sky because those planets would be very far away, so they would not move when you were moving. And if you want to play around with speed but don't want to lose your progress, you can do what I'm going to do. So I'm going to copy all my layers, and then I'm going to hit Control, Option, or Command, depending on your device. And it's going to bring up these options. And I'm going to hit Pre-Compose, which will make these all into a composition. And that essentially kind of puts them in a folder, so there'll be this brown bar instead of the purple bar, and you just double click on that to open that, and then I can go in and edit the speeds, so this one is going to operate quicker. So you can stop there, but I am going to show you something cool if you have something like these lampposts that you need to repeat. So I have a composition of 3 or 4 lampposts. I'm going to duplicate that composition. Then I'm going to animate one of them so they scroll all the way across and disappear. And then I'm going to place the other one where it would kind of follow after that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this little spiral that's on the layer line, and I'm going to drag from it to the layer that's moving. And so it's going to parent it, which means that it will follow. So I don't have to apply any animation to it. It'll just follow at the same speed as the other lamps. And these lamps will be moving much faster than the foreground buildings because they're even closer. So it's important that you watch your video as you make it, and you can see what's working and what's not. And for example, I wanted the lamps to be a little faster because they were still moving a little too slow, and I adjusted that. But it's just easy, you just hit the space bar and it'll play. So the next thing I'm going to show you is how to set up your vehicle. So I have a car that I have made in Illustrator, and the most important thing is that the wheel and the car are on two separate layers because you need the wheel to work independently of the car. I brought in the car the same way I brought in my other buildings and just made sure to hit new composition retain layer size because you want to retain that layer size. That's very important. So I'm gonna copy my car over from its composition into my main composition. And then I'm gonna scale it using S. And then I'm going to place the tire appropriately on the car. The car I actually have set up backwards. I'll fix that in a minute because it looks like it's moving backwards right now. I'm going to show you how to animate the wheel in using expressions so you don't have to just keep rotating it. And so I'm going to go to the timeline and then I'm going to option click. I'm pretty sure it might be control, but I think it's option click on the little stopwatch. I don't want it to highlight blue, but once you option click it, it'll pull up this line and it looks like code. And it is a little scary at first because it feels like coding, but it's not that big of a deal. So I'm just going to type in time. And what that does is it starts a rotation, but it's so slow that you can barely tell. So I'm going to hit after time. I'm going to put a star and then I'm going to type 300 and see how fast that spins. So here I fix the car, finally, and then I check to see if the wheel is moving fast enough to seem appropriate for how fast the background is moving. And I speed it up a little. So then I'm going to copy and paste that wheel. So now I have two wheels and it looks like the car is rolling. So we are good to go there. I am going to show you, this is optional, how to make the car body rumble a little bit so it looks less stiff. So I want to make sure my car is behind the lamps. And so to move layers, you just select them in the timeline near their names and then drag the names. You can't drag the bars. So then I'm going to pre-compose the car layers, and then I'm going to select the car body in that pre-composed layer that is titled car. I named it car just to help with organization. You can rename all your layers and it's very helpful. And then I'm going to use the wiggle expression. So I'm going to use position and not rotation. And then I'm going to option click on that stopwatch and then type in wiggle, and it starts to bring up expressions, and I want the one with the parentheses. And so then I'm going to type in wiggle, and then you're going to type in the number of rotations for per second versus the number of points that it's going to wiggle at. So you can see when I first start, it moves way too much. So I cut it down pretty hard, so it's only a very slight wiggle. I use 3 and 2. So it's only wiggling at 2 points and 3 wiggles every second or so. So I think this looks good, and I'm going to test it. I'm going to watch it a couple times, and I think we are good to go. And I like how it looks. So now I'm going to show you how to export it. Go to File, and then I'm going to go to Export, and you need to go to Add to Adobe Media Encoder. So you need to have Adobe Media Encoder on your computer. After Effects has its own render queue, but it's much less robust, and you can't export in certain file types, and we want you to export as an MP4, and that's just not possible with After Effects in-house exporter. So encoder is pulling up, and then you can choose, make sure you save your file. I have not saved my file, bad practice, but you need to have your file saved so it appears in encoder. And basically what I'm going to do is when it pops up, I'm going to click on the output file category where it says users/myname/desktop, and that's where I'm going to click on it, and it'll bring me an option to be able to rename it. And then I'm going to go to the first little column, and I'm going to hit H.264. This is a file type that's good because you don't lose that much, but it's also not as big because .mov videos can be huge and take forever to upload. So H.264 is what you want. And then I'm going to hit play, and I'm not going to show you guys me exporting it because my computer will get very hot while I'm screen recording. And so then this is going to be your finished product, and it's just a super cool way to make a cool looking animation pretty simply. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the semester, and if you have any questions, feel free to email me, and hope you guys have a great exam week and break.